But in any case, we have some topics, and uh, the first one today is where's your center? And we're talking about hara and saiki tanden and some of these esoteric Japanese terms, for lack of a better phrase. And do any of you refer to those when you're working with your students, or like
Uh,
where's your center? Or
Center, yeah. We don't normally use the word sometimes hara.
okay. And I mean, because it has, I'm working from the outline here. The term hara has two different definitions, one from the uh, philosophical or decision making,
Mm.
which is theoretically your head says one thing, then you have to listen to your heart, and then you have to listen to your gut, which is your hara. And ultimately, if you can balance those three things, odds are you will make the right decision. And that's a good philosophical concept. Uh, Physically, you have to be centered, and that's called centering yourself. But physically, you have to be centered in order to execute any technique in any martial art well. You need to be, I guess another word is balanced. Your body has to be balanced. And that goes then into where your feet are and how you're standing and how you're moving your body to retain your balance. Um, there's another way of looking at it, and that came up when I did my book on Jujitsu, the science behind the gentle art, I picked the name, and I had the XYZ graph, etc. And where the 0 point was, that was your hara as well. Surprisingly, I got some flack from some traditionalists in the martial arts. They were offended that I came up with that concept. Um, but my question is, I mean, I thought it was I did because I thought it was because most, I won't say most people, but I still think most kids go through some sort of geometry in school, and they run into the concept of X and Y and
Yeah.
XYZ. And I know when my daughter was actually in elementary school, they had to have a hand calculator that created graphs. And this is back in the 2000s. So um, I guess my question to you is, when do you use either the concept of centering techniques or the XYZ concept with the graphing version, so that students have a better understanding of where they need to be in terms of executing techniques, or is that something that isn't touched upon, or only for advanced belts?
Mm.
We started at the beginning. When you're trying to figure out how to place your body against somebody else for a hip throw, got to line up their center of gravity above your hips. So it's right at the beginning. It gets mentioned and talked about, and it's assumed that you have to understand where that person's center of gravity is. Not necessarily calling it the hara, but certainly center of gravity.
Okay. And surprisingly, one of the things that came out of this book was I did one day get a call from a uh, basketball coach at some university in Florida. He must know Dave. No. uh, and he was using the theories that I espoused in my book, but he wasn't. He just wanted to be thankful that I put it in visual form for his players. but I could never get an explanation from him as to how that applied to basketball. He said basically just help them visualize their positions better. And I couldn't get a better explanation out of him. So
Tom, I agree with
Yeah.
you completely on mentioning and using a center point to teach the basic hip throw and other throws early on. Another way we introduce this is our classes begin with stretching, and I put them through 70 different stretches or as a warm up before we do push-ups and walking lunges. So the stretching is a time for them to banter, but I have to reel them in sometimes. They get carried away. But one of the parts of the stretching is balance techniques. Partway through, they stand on one foot. They grab the other foot from behind and pull that foot up to their backside, and they balance on that one foot. More difficult to do on a mat than it is to do on a floor. So when we do this, I generally have them stand on the concrete, which is the indoor-outdoor carpet, and they balance on that one foot. Sometimes they hop around initially, but they get to the point where they know that when they do this, they need to lean to, say you're going to pull your right foot up, you're going to need to lean to the left to recenter your body and your hara over that one leg. And if you don't shift to the left to lift your right foot, you're going to hop around like an Easter bunny. And so they learn that early on. Then once they do one side, they do the other. Here's what's interesting is to do this and do it well, you have to have an outside hara, if you will. An outside hara would be a focus point. So I tell them to pick a dot on the wall so that they can focus on a single spot. Because if their eyes are wandering around, they're not going to be able to stand on one foot. Stand on one foot and move your head around like this. You won't be standing on 1 foot long. But if you have a focus point and your eyes are keyed in on that, and you've paid attention to your hara, your center point in your body, you can go up into this and do very well. It's an important piece to understand, and you're doing it all by yourself, and you're aware of your internal balance point or center point, and you're also aware of using an external with the focus point. Combine the two, and here's what you can do that's really cool. You reach around with your other hand, and both hands are now grabbing the back, or I should say the top of your foot, to hold that back of your foot up against your gluteus maximus. Okay. Now, once you do one side, you do the other. And it's interesting because people will find they have a quote strong side and a weak side. Not for long, because what you do is take whatever you think is your weak side and you do that first. And when you do that first, it doesn't remain your weak side. So it's the coolest thing. I used to think my right side was better than my left because that was my plant foot for soccer. When I cross a soccer ball running on left wing. And then I quickly realized that if instead of starting balancing on my right foot, if I began balancing on my left foot first, that my left foot was just as solid from a balance standpoint as my right foot. So hara gets introduced not just with jiu-jitsu techniques and also in a quote, theoretical sense, but it gets introduced early on with balance. And balance is really cool to integrate with stretching and stretching with balance. They're key, K-E-Y points, and K-I suppose.
one of the things I found, and this is, and I may have mentioned it before, and this goes right into what Dave is saying. If you're trying to balance yourself, the harder you try, the more difficult the task will become.
There you go.
And it's amazing that concept applies to so many elements of, I think, any martial art. That the harder you try to do something, the more difficult it will be to accomplish or succeed at that technique or task or balancing. And so what I try to do is to have my students, I'll tell them, relax. Relax your mind, relax your body, concentrate on that one dot. You imagine it's there. Because if you relax, you'll find that you can actually stretch further and you'll be balanced while you're doing that because you're not, how do you say it, for lack of a better phrase, you're not trying to stretch, but you are. I don't know. Does this make any sense?
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Yoda's talking about when he says there is no try, only do, right? He's saying just
Right.
do it. And it's okay if you fail doing it, but don't try. Just go do it and fail. That's better, right?
Right. And you learn by failing. You learn by failing too. I mean,
You don't learn by trying.
Also, with when it comes to the balance, I think the best way of learning is when kids and adults start grappling, like pulling each other around, trying to throw each other down, like it's like a judo style contest. You learn quickly
Yeah.
how your balance is, where to put your feet,
yes.
and I think that's really important.
Yeah, I know. Seki would always chew us out for walking on the mat. He says, you slide your feet, you never take your feet off the ground. Unless you're sweeping someone. Morning, Darren. Are we here? We don't have any sound from you.
I know, Sensei. I had you muted
There we
for a
are.
second.
There you
Hey,
are.
good to see everybody.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
Good
This
morning.
is like old group here. We got Dexter, Thomas,
Yeah.
Dan, and Dave.
Yeah,
And me. I'm back. Hello.
good. How you doing?
Hi, Sensei. I'm good.
Good. How are your cohorts in crime?
They're good. We had a Saturday morning class today, and there were 2 participants in the class this morning, and so they've been very intrigued and interested to sit in. So I certainly invited them to participate. And but we had a good group this morning. We had been having some really good classes. So
Good.
they're all intrigued to hear what we have to say today.
Good. Okay, let's
Sensei,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be here. So if you need to talk to me, I'm like right behind the phone. So I'm trying to work on getting us another connection. So I'm here still, just so everybody knows I'm still here. They'll be right in front of the camera. I'm gonna try to get us a different connection real quick though.
okay, no problem.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're I think we're basically through with the center or hara at this point.
George, before we move on, could I ask you a question?
Sure.
You made a comment about there were people who objected to, I think you were talking about the XYZ axes. Could you elaborate? I don't know what the objection would be.
Their concern was it was very it took away the mysticism of the hara and the centering, because now you could visualize, because most young people know what an XYZ graph is, and they can apply this visual concept to their bodies, whereas before the hara was just, it's about 2 inches below your belly button, which is kind of a vague thing, and it really doesn't mean too much unless you really understand the concept of balance and moving your body so that you are balanced. And simply by going to a graph, it visualized, it made it visual and also kind of cold, and I don't know whether they said it was abstract. I said, well, I don't think it's abstract, because now you can visualize it, and if you can visualize it, it's not an abstract concept any longer. They weren't happy with that comment either, but they're, as Dane said, you don't try. There are many ways. In most cases, there are many ways to learn something, not just one. I know from Seki there are many ways to do, there are the core techniques in Jiu-Jitsu, but there are many ways to set them up and do them. I think of everything he taught, there were maybe only 2 or 3 techniques that could be done, and that was in a self-defense situation. They could only be done one way, or you were dead meat. But most other things are really depending on how much training you have, determines how much flexibility you have in being successful in whatever technique you're trying to do. And just to say, you need to develop your hara or your inner spirit is I mean, as black, and maybe even as white belts, we all need to understand that concept and be able to apply it. But to simply say, where's your 0 point, for a lot of people is just a lot easier concept to understand because they can visualize it. They think, they go back to their exciting math teacher somewhere. And
Yeah.
I had a really good geometry teacher. He had a great sense of humor, and that really helps. And then I ran into him again for calculus and college math and all that other stuff, where he gave me a courtesy C because at the end of the semester, he went around and asked everybody what they were going to major in college. And that's what he based your grade on. And I knew I had bombed that class. It was just above my brain power. But it gave me a C. And because I said, I'm going into the social sciences. He says, well, then you won't need this that much. But in any case, yeah, I think that was a concern, that it took away the mysticism of the hara. Because there's a lot of stuff we do that, you've got to get your ki together, let your ki flow, use your attacker's ki, and everybody say, what's ki? And it's something, once you get that concept, then you'll find you can apply the concept to your technique execution, and you do get better. I mean, there's nothing worse than fighting someone who doesn't want to cooperate you, which is why Saiki always said, you never fight your attacker, you always help them go where they want to go, which is a very common term in what other martial art. Helping the person go where they want to go. It starts with the letter A.
Aikido.
Aikido, right. And, so it depends on your mindset. And I think that's why there was the objection, because it kind of shook up a lot of traditionalists who want to be able to say, because if it's kind of, I don't really want to call it a religion or something. If someone is presenting, if you're used to one interpretation of religion or a religion, and then someone throws something else at you, you say, how can this be? Because it doesn't go with what you think it should be. It's subjective. And hara is more say, well, you've got to make sure your hara is in the right place. And that's a more abstract concept than saying, where's your 0 point in your body? Which for some people is a hard thing to figure out too. So, it's just sometimes things are a matter of terminology rather than what it represents. Okay.
Sensei, before we go to the next topic or
Yeah.
finish this, I was going to invite Darren's students to introduce themselves. That way we can pick on them. And also, if they want to contribute, they'll feel more comfortable contributing if we can attach a name to them. Would you mind introducing yourselves, just first names, so we can include you in our conversation? As senseis, we know from experience, we learn a lot from our students, and love to have you guys participate if you have something to include.
Yes, Sensei David. I'm Gianni Ricks. I'm 18. I'm from Chalmette, Louisiana.
Thank you.
I'm Chris Tranchina. I'm 34, and I'm from Covington, Louisiana.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris and Gianni. Appreciate it.
Nice to meet all you gentlemen.
Would you guys mind
Likewise.
introducing yourselves?
Yeah.
But then you can hold us responsible for what we say, and that might not be so good. I'm Dave Clark from Tampa, Florida, outside of Tampa, Florida, and happy to have been working with George Kirby for many moons now.
Yes, I'm George Kirby. Santa Clarita or Valencia, California is about 20-30 miles north of Los Angeles. In the background is, I can't think of the name of the town. It's up in Northern California, Fort Bragg.
Cool.
It used to be a lumbering town. Not now, but it used it used to be. And there are a lot of trellis bridges up there, which is why that picture's in the background.
And so you got a lot of lumber behind you there.
You had a lot of lumber behind me, right? If there's lots of wood there, it's cheap. And for you two students, I learned a long time ago that, as a classroom teacher and jujitsu instructor, not all wisdom comes on top, from on top. So if you have a thought, don't be hesitant to include it, because it may wake up some of us. And I always enjoyed students that challenge my thinking. Made for some interesting classes, and even in the dojo, it's because students will sometimes come up with what ifs that you as a sensei never think of. So, and we have to deal with them. We can't say I don't know.
Yeah.
Or we can. And if I was in a typical classroom routine, I'd say, if I didn't know, I'd say, well, why don't you find that out for extra credit and let us know tomorrow? And the kids would, So that's something you can sometimes do with your students is, if you don't know the answer, say, why don't you look that up and let us know next class what you found. Just be aware that sometimes students find more than you want them to express. And then you have to live with that. But anyway, okay, let's move on to a more difficult concept called the Venn diagram. Is there anyone here who is not familiar with what a Venn diagram is? You can raise your hand, or
Raise your hand.
if you don't, it's okay if you don't know.
Gianni.
I know what about that.
Well, I mean, I know what a Venn diagram is, but not in relation to.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Okay, here's the concept. When you're both in a ready position, you're a certain distance from your opponent.
I don't know in this concept.
Okay, it's like two circles. You're here. Okay. Once you get close, and it's also called personal space. Normally, for most Americans, personal space is about 18 to 24 inches. You're that far from a person. If a person gets closer to you and you don't know them well, what do you usually do?
Throat strike.
They may not be aggressive. They're
Okay.
Let me learn some of that. Stuff.
All right, karate.
no. What's the normal person's reaction? What happens if someone stands too close to you? What
You acknowledge them.
okay? You
Move away.
Take a step back.
Yeah, why are you close to me?
Yeah, you move away.
Or you can take a step back. Okay. And if you live in certain metropolitan areas where you have different cultures and people from different countries, this personal space is different, and you really have to. I had a lot of at school that had a lot of Armenian students, and they get right in your face, and it isn't necessarily a threat to your physical being. That's just part of their accepted culture. But most people, if you get in a person's personal space, what they will usually do is they will take a step back to reestablish. You'll step back to reestablish that space for your own safety. And the same thing occurs in self-defense. If you take your arm and stick it out, and the other person is just standing there, and your fist, and you haven't moved your feet yet, and your fist does not make contact with their face, you're not a physical threat. They can stick their tongue out at you, and you're still not going to be able to hit them unless you take a step forward. And the same concept, if you're looking at two circles, is once you get these circles to cross, okay, that's when there is a physical threat. because now this person can connect with you. Okay. And so just one way of avoiding a physical conflict sometimes, and I've seen it happen, okay. Sometimes it's just a matter of a person swings at you, all you have to do is step back and they miss. Okay. Or you may block and step back. Okay. Just because a person swings at you doesn't mean you have to swing back. Okay. Or they may reach out for you and you just knock their hand out of the way and step back. Okay. And that's kind of the concept of the Venn diagram, is that if you can maintain this space, they're really, regardless of what they say or what they may physically do, as long as those two circles don't intersect, you're safe from any physical attack. And then it becomes a question: who's the aggressor? Is the aggressor the person that swung at you, or are you the aggressor because you blocked their hit and stepped back? That's a good philosophical question. I'm not going to ask you to answer it. But so that's one of the issues. Who is, if the person keeps moving in towards you, even if they don't make physical contact, are they the aggressor?
I think in law, well, it depends where you live and what laws, but I think
Yes. And
in
the US,
legally,
it's what state you're in too.
yeah, or yeah, different countries as well.
It comes down to whether you make physical contact or not.
Hmm.
And you can, when I have students practice, I will, and they stand really far apart from each other initially until they get more experience, and they stick out their fist, and the person's face is 3 feet away. I said, you're never going to be able to hit that person. Okay.
Yeah.
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 Good morning, Ken. We got Irving coming in. Who's Irving? I think I know who Irving is.
Good morning. Yep. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
And so what I try to do is have my students when they're in their ready position. Good morning, Irving. So if they have their fist out there, I want them that close to the attacker's, the defender's face, because that's close enough where the defender can block or deflect, depending on what they want to do, and it's still, that poses a threat of physical impact to you if a person swings and their fist ends up 2 inches from your face.
Mm.
Okay, and that's where I prefer my students to train, because it gives them a reality check. Do they get hit? On occasion, yes, because they step in without blocking. Or
Case block.
even when I was in the classroom, if I didn't get hit in the mouth at least once a semester, and sometimes there was blood, there was something wrong. And the kids would be really upset, because in California, if you hit a teacher, it's felony assault. And they thought we were going to go to, I said, no, it's my fault. I didn't block it. Don't worry about it. And, but that is the risk if you have students working out like that, is that, they could actually hit each other. But the other thing, you want your students to practice reality as close as they can get. Because if you see that fist coming at you, you have to do something, even if it's going to stop 2 inches from your face.
Mm.
You can't just be an idiot and say, well, his tai sabaki is wrong, his footwork is wrong, he's never going to hit me. And if he leans forward without moving his feet, he's going to fall on his face anyway. So I don't have to do anything. You don't have time to think about all this stuff because your concern is getting hit. And it becomes as, where do you go? Where do you go? We lose someone here? Or maybe it was, no, Dane said it. It's not, don't try, do.
Yeah.
And if you're in a self-defense situation, you can't afford to try. You have to do. But it's what you do that determines whether you are successful or whether you get in trouble. Okay. Irving, wherever you're at, we're not getting a picture or audio from you, just so you know, we lost you. But anyway,
I turned off the video because I'm eating my breakfast.
oh, that's okay.
But my sound is on.
Next time you have breakfast with us, you have to bring enough for everyone.
Well,
It
the
will
bowl's big enough, but it's only partially full.
Okay. But anyway, if I mean, I don't know where you live, but if a person does a person in whatever state you live in, does a person actually have to make physical contact for you for them to be considered an aggressor in a situation?
In Virginia, no. But it depends upon, really, it's somewhat misogynistic. Anybody goes after a female, they're the aggressor. I mean, just moving towards them in an aggressive manner, and particularly if the woman has said back off, that doesn't always work the other way around, though.
Okay.
Florida has a stand your ground law. So if somebody is being aggressive, even without striking or making contact, if you feel you are in harm's way, you have the right to deal with it.
That's the same in Louisiana.
Yeah,
It's called Southern justice.
It's called
I
what?
think
Southern justice. That's
Yeah.
That's not
Southern
that's
justice.
not
That's it.
Chris is smiling. He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. California, as I said before, it's a little more complicated. You know, you can do whatever if you are physically attacked or you feel threatened, you can do whatever is reasonably necessary to protect yourself from further aggression and remove yourself from the situation.
yeah,
Now,
I think that's similar in Canada as well.
it's a really vague term.
It's complicated. Yeah.
And Sensei, that is part of the stand your ground law. The reasonable, it definitely enters the equation.
Yeah, and reasonable is where the issue is.
Mhm.
And
Everything comes down to an argument eventually.
yeah, and
Telling
that's
your story
and considering we're teaching students self-defense, it's a hard concept for them to get. Every student that I've had that has been in a street situation, their main concern has always been, am I going to get in trouble for breaking this guy's wrist, for causing them to have a concussion, you know, whatever, whatever else, dislocated shoulder, whatnot. And
George, in California, I always learned that there's assault and battery, and assault is all verbal, and they could go up to the point yelling and screaming and anything at you. But once they touch you, that's battery.
right.
And as I'm talking about that, I'm wondering if that's just for legal purposes before they could arrest you for assault and battery. They can't arrest you for battery unless they touch you. And no matter how soft the touch is, that's still a battery. But for self-defense purposes, if you're yelling and screaming at me and you get within my range, my envelope, so to speak, I'm going to strike out.
Sensei, this is a good time to mention how base physical confrontations are. And one of the greatest lessons we can teach our students in self-defense is how to de-escalate, because it is a very base activity. And self-defense taught well will create in you abilities to avoid physical confrontations at all cost. Yeah. So I know in my own case, but I've also seen it in other black belts, that the physical confrontations that occurred before training would never occur after training, because you have the skill set to diffuse. And looking back, you say the confrontations I was in could have easily, readily been avoided with the knowledge that I gained studying self-defense.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. It's a critical part of self-defense is being able to avoid a physical contact.
Well, Lord help them. Lord help them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lord help them if we can't avoid it.
Right.
It's going to go down fast.
I mean, it's, countries have the same problem. The trick is not to get in. You can say whatever you want, but you really want to avoid getting into a physical conflict, because in many cases there really is no winner. And if two people are in a physical fight, there really is no winner.
And once it's physical, there's no end until it's over.
Right.
There is no, okay, I had enough, you can stop now and I'm going to go away. That just won't happen. So it becomes a real big thing quick.
You can't say mate.
Right. The bad guy is not going to be like, I learned my lesson. You got me, sir. Okay, I'll go now.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, it doesn't work that way. And I was in one situation when I was at the junior high school that fortunately, where I was taking the student who was being very physically aggressive, even though he was under control, fortunately there were police officers where I was taking him. I didn't know that at the time, and they ended up having to handcuff and foot cuff him, and they literally put the kid in a closet to calm down, because he was really high. And they didn't know what else to do with him right away. So I mean, I felt sorry for the kid, but it's a physical conflict very rarely solves any problems. It usually creates more problems. So if you can avoid getting into a physical confrontation, you're a lot better off. Most of your true friends will respect you more for that. Okay, because sometimes it takes a lot more guts not to fight a person and to be able to walk away than it is to, how do you say, save face and punch that person out because he insulted your mother, or your wife or someone else.
It's like Sensei Willie Nelson said, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away and when to run.
Right. Good.
It's important enough that we practice that. When I've got enough students, we practice it.
Right.
We'll do a gauntlet and take one person, run them to the end, turn their back to the group, and I'll go through and pick people in the gauntlet and say, oh, not say, I've got cards to hold up. Physical attack, verbal attack, or both. And point to somebody and say that, so they don't know who's going to be the aggressor, and they don't know what the aggression is going to be. So it's to train them to, if they don't touch you, keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah.
That's the, and we don't have that many women students most of the time, so I don't have to give them yeah, you can do pretty much whatever you want.
And okay. So I guess is there any relationship between um, how do you say it? Is there any relationship in terms of executing technique? And this is a more abstract idea. Is there any relationship between the Venn diagram and the XYZ axis in terms of executing techniques well?
Okay, Sensei, now my brain is hurting.
Now, someone earlier on in this conversation, when we were dealing with the center, did provide a really great lead into the relationship. And it had to do with balance. It had to do with your center. Does anybody recall? Ken, if you're trying to say something, we have no sound for you.
I can hear you, George. I'm following the conversation,
Oh,
but
okay.
I was dictating as well on a self-defense program here.
Oh, okay. I just didn't,
Yeah. And I have a very interesting update on self-defense here with what happened here for me in the last couple of weeks since we last met. Pretty interesting stuff
we'll go
for later. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, one of you mentioned that if we go back to the Venn diagram, in order to execute a technique, where do your centers have to be? They have to be
Aligned?
aligned, okay? They have to be aligned, okay? And so you can take that, you can either take the XYZ graph thing or the Venn diagram and say, if you want to execute a hand throw, ultimately your center has to be the center of the technique. And ideally, if you're doing that hand throw, where are you ultimately bringing that hand? Where is that hand throw ultimately going? Is it going out off into the sunset? Or are you ideally bringing it back to your center as you pivot you pivot your left foot back? Where does the center, that center of the technique is your uke's wrist?
The latter, Sensei, you're bringing them into your own tachiwaza.
Yeah, you're bringing them into your own center.
You're stronger when they're closer to your center. Like
Right.
when we're applying a technique to your own center.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have much more strength.
Right.
If something's further out, it's weaker.
Yeah, I don't like to use the word strength. You have much more leverage and control.
Leverage, force, yeah.
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 And if you have strength, then that strength can become an asset.
Right. Yeah. Strength, power, control. Yeah. Whatever the word is.
Yeah.
I think that's where
I've had students that are, that are buffed to the tens. And the hardest thing to get them to do is to use their muscle to support the technique rather than using the technique to support their muscle. Strength can be an asset if you're doing the technique correctly. But if I mean, I've had people make, I try to do a hand through and they make a solid fist on me where I can't get their wrist bent without doing something else to just take their mind off their wrist. But they can use strength. And unless, I have enough alternatives in my quick reaction brain to do something to take their mind off and then quickly bend that wrist. Because then once it's bent, if it's properly bent and set, if they then try to make a fist, they'll actually end up either throwing themselves or putting themselves off balance, or actually they could theoretically end up breaking their own wrist.
at least tear a tendon.
Pardon?
At least tear a tendon. If you try to close your hand bent. Yeah.
That's
right.
Good point. Yeah.
And to me, tearing a tendon is a more serious injury than a break.
Sensei Wally J's small circle jujitsu comes to mind when we talk about this.
Yeah. Because once and I know Seki used to teach a lot of techniques, particularly to the newer students. He'd have all these big circles for techniques. And I think that was so the student would pick up the concept of how the technique moves. But one thing he did was as we moved up in rank, he said, "Oh, you don't have to do all this. You can just do this.
Mhm.
Just set this up close to you and just pivot your foot back and turn to your left. And the technique still works." And we found out that it worked a lot better. So
I think it's important too, especially with the idea of the interconnecting circles with the center. I think that's where that's really the point of Kazushi, is about those intersecting circles and your center. Because like you said, when your centers are together, you're sharing a center now. And it's his center as much as your center, and you can't have that. Like when you go to do a leg sweep, the counter is him doing the exact same leg sweep, and both of your centers are next to each other. It's who did it faster, right? So you don't ever want to put your balance on his center, right? You want to make sure that your center is the center of both circles and his is not. And he's relying on where your center is. So like if you pull an arm towards you and put it at your center and he's over here, he's balancing on your center point. And then you just put him wherever you want. You move your body and that's where he goes, right?
right.
So I think that understanding it in your three-dimensional circle and diagram is like explaining the real essence of Kazushi. Like that's what you're doing, is taking control of both of your centers and having two circles spin on your axis.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And that's why, and let me go back to Dave just for a moment, that what he initially mentioned early on this morning was with a hip throw, where you are aligning your center with your attacker center, and that's what makes the hip throw possible and easy to do. And what you're saying with your explanation is a visual explanation that most people can get, rather than saying, well, your hara has to be lined up with his hara. And if you're balanced, the technique will work, which is a more, vague or abstract. So, okay. Totally different topic. And I don't know if we want to go here today, which is defending yourself on the ground. How many?
Don't do it.
I mean, other than, and this is really a good concept for Darren's dojo. Are both of you white belts?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, and I don't know whether you've practiced Brazilian jiu-jitsu or not, or fool around with it or not. Keep in mind that almost any jiu-jitsu technique, particularly locks, holds, chokes, etc., that you do standing up to initiate a throw or takedown, can be done even if you are underneath on the ground. And I've seen people really surprised when I'm underneath and I get hold of one of their hands, or they're grabbing out, they're trying to choke me, and I just go into a little tight hand throw, teinagi, and they're off of me. And many people don't think that. Now, some of these techniques may not be legal in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but
How is that possible from the floor?
all you have to do is, if you can set this up, you're here, and you just, if you get his wrist bent and you get the hold set, all you really have to do is turn your body to the left. Don't try and get up. The worst thing you can do is try and get up, because that messes up your axis. But if you're here, or even a wrist lock takedown, if you're here and you can trap that hand, all you really have to do is hold that hand against you and turn your body to your left. Turn your whole body to your left. It's his wrist.
If the Tainagi doesn't work, the Takubishimi was.
Nikajo from the ground?
What? What was your question?
Sensei Kirby, can you do Nikajo from the ground, like from the bottom?
Can you do, I'm sorry, not getting the term. What's the term?
Nikajo? Does it have a different name?
Some terminology is a bit different, but you should say wrist bind.
Wrist bind.
I mean, this one?
Yes, Sensei.
Yes, Sensei.
You can do that from the ground.
Are you asking if it's physically possible or allowed?
I'm, see, Seki never worked with what's allowed.
Okay. Well, I mean, if they're studying, but if they're studying Brazilian, that would be
Right.
a question that would come up.
Yes, I know in Brazilian, there are some things we do that are not quote unquote legal in Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
About that guy that was here.
I think they call them small joint manipulation.
Yeah,
And you
and,
can't do that. Any
And
wrist-
IBJJF, wrist locks and heel hooks. Heel hooks aren't allowed until the black belt division, I don't think. And
Yeah.
wrist binds are almost never allowed in
Yeah,
those
I mean,
competitions.
I mean, if you're in a street situation and someone's choking you and grabs, and all you can do is grab one finger, you bend it back and break it. They'll let how do you say it? And this is one of the difference between probably jujitsu and a number of other martial arts. There are no illegal techniques in jujitsu. Puts a smile on everyone's face.
The outcomes may or may not be legal, but
Yeah, the outcome may or may not be legal. I've never injured another student. I've been injured 2 or 3 times by my students out of my own stupidity. Yeah, senseis do make mistakes. I think the dumbest one was I covered Seki's class one night, and I had a 10-year-old kid set a figure 4 arm bar on me. And I wanted to see what would happen if I resisted.
Mm.
And I dislocated my elbow. He was upset. He thought he was going to get in a lot of trouble because he dislocated me. I said, no, you didn't, I did. And sometimes teachers make mistakes. That's how we get to be teachers.
How we get to be better teachers.
Okay, what?
That's how we get to be better teachers.
Better teachers, yes.
Make more mistakes than anybody else.
But there are a lot of things. I've done simple, someone's got you being choked on the ground. Yeah, the simple, grab on their wrist and hook under their elbow and roll it. This is their right elbow, and you roll it as you turn your body to the right. The worst, and I when I would teach ground defense, the worst thing you can do is trying to execute a technique while you're trying to sit up or get up.
Mm.
You can't do 2 things at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to let your body do the work and provide the leverage. Most of my ground self-defenses I actually got, other than the basic ones, I actually got from Hal Brocious from Kitsugo Jiu-Jitsu. And he taught stuff on you. What do you do if someone's dragging you by your feet or your hands, or they're stomping you, boot to your face, things of that sort. And those are not difficult. They're surprisingly easy techniques to do. If someone's dragging you by one hand, only by one, I can teach you some of the stuff I do, and you can try this on the mat, and it works amazingly well. If someone's grabbing you by one hand and pulling you, you just need to grab their wrist, and then you decide which way you want to rotate your body. That's all you have to do.
That's good.
They're either going to fall forward roll, or back roll, or they're going to break their wrists and go forward or backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do it slowly because you have all the weight, you have all the leverage. if someone's grabbing you by both hands, what Hal have us do? He would just have us flex our arms and bring our feet up to their stomach. And then essentially you're doing what's almost a tomonagi. You're throwing them over. They land on the ground. Your heel of one of your feet either goes into their face, where you're wearing shoes, or it goes into their sternum, which can crack their sternum. A cracked sternum is not a serious injury. You go to the hospital, you just have difficulty breathing. But they take you to the hospital, they x-ray you. Decades ago, they used to tape you up with elastic tape. Now they usually just say, don't try not to breathe for the next 4 weeks. Because there's not much they can do for a cracked sternum. Or for someone if someone's grabbing both feet and pulling you, you just bend your legs, which brings you in so that you can hook their heels with your hands. And I hope you can visualize this. And then you essentially hook onto their heels, which will force them back down, which forces you up into a sitting position. And then once they're down, you can either do a fist either to their crotch or to their face, or you can go back and forth, depending on how humorous you want to make the situation. Foot stomp to the head. I hope you visualize. Because I think in some of the books some of the videos are there too. Is you block with your foot. You don't block with your fists or your hands, because the hands can't block a boot. But you block with your forearms together, and then you hook the heel with one hand, the ball of the foot with the shoe with the other, and it doesn't matter which way you go, whichever. What hand is in the heel? If their heel is in your right hand, you turn the clock to your left and turn your body. You don't do this like that. You turn your body to the left. If it's this way and the heel is in the left hand, turn your body to the right. The person will either go or they'll break their ankle and go. There are relatively simple techniques you can do, but if you're practicing them, your uke needs to know what's going to happen for their own self-protection. Of course, I know and Derek can explain to the white belts, when you teach a technique, the students know what they have to do to avoid injury. Or Darren will go, or we would go through it with our students. Here's what you have to do. Here's how you have to fall, when you have to fall, in order to avoid injury. Okay, basically called ukemi. But you learn what to do. Okay, if the person's doing wrist lock takedown, you go down and you also tap out, things of that sort. Say mate. Or as my students used to say, they became, if they did real fast tap outs, they referred to that student as Flipper. From the old TV series, with the I can't think
Dolphin.
With the what?
Dolphin,
right.
Yeah.
And
I remember Flipper.
You remember Flipper? And
yeah, we're dating ourselves, George.
that's okay.
Don't talk about Gentle Ben, though.
No, not Gentle Ben. No. But anyway, so I mean there's a lot of good stuff when you're on the ground, and your priority is to get back up on your feet. But if you're stuck, and there's another one for a person's kicking your torso, that's really hard to describe without looking at a video of it or picture. And most people do it wrong the first time because they're still trying to get up. But I think the key is that if you're being attacked on the ground, you need to deal with the attack and then get up. Because
I think a lot of that is lost these days. Like the concepts you're talking about, where it's ground self-defense. I think that's been lost. Like
Yeah.
before Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like I've been doing martial arts since I was a little kid. So before Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came along, I was learning floor ground fighting in karate, in Jiu-Jitsu. And it was kind of like the old way of doing Jiu-Jitsu where you're both in Seiza, one is in Seiza and one standing, or you're both standing.
Yeah.
There was always a component of ground and standing, ground and ground, or standing, standing.
Right.
And over time, that kind of dissipated. Like even karate would have situations where you're in a chair and somebody's attacking you at a
Right.
bar or whatever, or you fell down, you went to kick somebody and you fell, and now the guy's closing in on you. There were all those scenarios. As soon as UFC came along, everyone dropped that, and ground fighting, defending yourself on the ground, meant you're on your back, somebody's sitting on your waist, and they're holding your chest. And that became like what ground fighting meant. Not somebody's trying to step on you with a boot, not you're getting kicked in the face, not any of these things. And I think that's done a disservice to all of the arts. Like there's a lot of focus on that one scenario, not the hundreds of scenarios. You know, like you're sitting at a bench and somebody walks behind you and chokes you. That kind of stuff, you know, and everybody focuses on that competition aspect of what to do in a BJJ situation, not every situation.
Yeah. And again, a lot of techniques that we do standing up, we can do sitting in a chair as well, or on a bench. The only problem is you now have a rigid object that's involved in the technique, and you, at least in a dojo environment, you have to, there are some additional precautions to protect your attacker, because the chair won't move and it has some hard points on it. And you don't want to injure your uke because then you're out.
You don't have one.
You don't have one.
Dane, to your point, a pivotal moment in development of what you're talking about was Hoist Gracie and Ken Shamrock.
Yep.
And that was the beginning of the turn.
Mm-hmm.
when Gracie defeated from his back. And yeah, it didn't do the world a favor, in my opinion.
Right. In and of itself, it's great, but it's replaced everything else. Yeah, I agree. You're totally right.
Exactly.
You're totally right. Yep.
Yeah.
Sensei, what y'all did? Pick this topic to get me started today? All of the things, Dane, you see what you do? I know how you're looking
Glad
at
to
me.
be back there.
Just a couple of comments that look, everything that you said applies for sure. One of the things that I'm a big advocate for is, you know, the origins of where jiu-jitsu has stayed and what the parent art of most martial arts that are out there is. But I think that could be better explained in much more detail. And I think Sensei is going to be releasing an article on Kokoro in November that would explain exactly a lot of what you just mentioned, what David mentioned, and what he was talking about in a minute.
Yeah, Darren has a really good article that is well worth reading, and it's longer than most that I would put into Kokoro, but it's solid, and so it's a worthwhile read. I know.
Do we have to wait? Do we have to wait till November?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, you can't build us up like that.
Well, you know.
All right, stay tuned.
Yeah. The one thing that I found, and I don't really find this, I know when I ran my park classes, I would never tell my students ahead of time we're going to work on ground defenses. I would never say next week or next class we're going to work, because half the students wouldn't show up. And I finally started asking, why don't you show up? And they say, well, because we feel so awkward. Because we have to use a whole different set of muscles. We walk out of here really sore because we've had to use a whole different set of muscles. We're sore from the techniques being done to us because we can't take our nice falls and all that other neat, clean stuff. Okay. And so I just got to the point after a few years of this, I would never let my students know ahead of time if we were going to do ground defenses. You know, you can't, it's like saying we're going to, next week we're going to work on self-defense for small children. And if you don't have any small children, how many students are going to show up?
Sensei, the way I've gone around that, do a workaround is stretching out 26 techniques over 2 classes, approximately 13 in each class, with the idea being when you come to class, we're going to be focusing on how to not stay on the ground, how to get back up.
Right.
So all the techniques start on the ground and end standing up.
Okay.
And so what happens is it's not a matter of we're on the ground and we're tussling and wrestling and getting worn out because the ground's acting like a wall, and we're not used to that kind of resistance, and on and on. No, the focus is on techniques so that you don't stay on the ground and you get back up.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up, because I've done seminars where I've been asked to teach techniques when you are up against the wall, because there's some systems where their emphasis is getting you off the wall or off the floor. And you know, if my attitude was the wall is your friend, the floor is your friend, until you can reasonably safely get up and get away from it. But your goal has to be to defend yourself from that position, not to get out of that position and then defend yourself, because that second thing will never happen. And most of them are amazed that if they're up against the wall, they can turn to the right or turn to the left, or they can slide to the left, or slide to the right to do techniques. And smashing someone into the wall with a hand throw is a good technique. It's not your fault that they hit the wall instead of they shouldn't have picked on you. But and the same thing applies on the ground. You have to, you know, rather than trying to get up, you do the technique using your y-axis to support it. You're turning your whole body and your leg, everything. One of the I forgot, the brain cell disappeared. One of the things I lost it. See, ground in the wall. You know, because my attitude was the wall is your friend, the floor is your friend. Oh, I got it. I used to be able to do, I think it's Sutemi Waza. Saiki even taught that how to do techniques from a formal sitting position. And there are techniques on how to get up properly and how to go down properly, if you could. And that is so critical, because you have, in doing techniques from formal sitting position, you have to be able to bring one leg up or down in order to help maintain your balance as you turn your body or whatever else you're doing or executing the technique. And one of my greatest frustrations as a sensei is, once I had my knee replacement, I can't bend my left leg to the point where the calf is against the thigh. I can only get to about here. So I can't sit down in a formal sitting position. And I may have said it some time ago, if you have a relative who has a knee replacement and that knee replacement is necessary, number one, get it done as soon as possible, because you need to retain your flexibility in the joint. That's your key. The second item is ask the surgeon, not the physical therapist, what is the bending range of the joint? Okay. And then you make sure you get your physical therapy to bend your legs, to stretch that muscles and tendons to the maximum ability of the artificial joint. Okay. I'm at the maximum flexibility of the artificial joint for my knee. And I jokingly, the surgeon and I had a line going that if he ever has to replace it, which he doesn't think he will, and he's retired now, he said, I'll get you the sports model. And so when I had my shoulder replacement, I asked the surgeon, what's the maximum range for this artificial joint? And I went through 6 months, not just 3 months of physical therapy. I was able to get another 3 months, and I have full range of motion of my right shoulder. Okay. So if you ever have that, or you need someone, or you know someone is, those are two key things to be aware of. Because you want to keep your body. It really has messed up my ability to do Sutemi Waza techniques from a sitting position. Or is it Suwari? I forget which the term is. And that was really frustrating to me because I really enjoyed doing that. But the skills it gives you are critical, as I think Dave said, or was it Tom, or Dave, on being able to get up safely. Because there are times when you will get knocked back down when you're trying to get up. And what do you do at that point? Life isn't simple. When you get older, it gets more complicated. So, any other comments anyone wants to make on defending yourself on the ground? Or thoughts? Or
It's very important to learn and to practice.
yeah,
'Cause you don't always have a choice. If you
Yeah.
trip or fall down, you better know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, you better also get up properly, or you could be in trouble not standing up properly.
I mean,
You get knocked right back down again.
yeah. I mean, the key is, for example, something really simple with if you learn your techniques from a sitting position, you also learn how to balance your body so you don't have to use your hands to get up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what do you need your hands to do?
Yeah, and George, in the Kenru Jiu-Jitsu curriculum, the grappling techniques we teach are applicable standing and on the ground.
Okay.
And I could have made one list and said these are applicable standing or on the ground, but I listed them all out. Standing under this category, all of the techniques, and then all of the exact same techniques named on the ground. And we practice transitioning
Right.
between this, and we move grappling, because often a grapple goes to the ground. If we haven't controlled their center, grappling goes to the ground. Now you're trying to apply the same and other techniques on the ground. So we do that piece.
Yeah. It's once the students get that concept, it really opens up their ability to effectively work on the ground. And they're not really learning new techniques. They're recognizing, hey, this stuff works if I'm standing, if I'm sitting, if I'm lying down, not if I'm asleep, but yeah. And it's kind of like little kids, toddlers. The first thing, they don't learn to walk. The first thing they do is run. And the reason they run is so they won't fall flat on their face when they're trying to learn. And eventually they slow down and they realize, hey, I can walk.
Mm.
And then they learn how to run. So it's kind of like it opens up. Your goal is I think your goal as a sensei or a teacher is not necessarily to always teach new stuff, but to get your students to take what they have and apply it to different situations. And
Sensei, that's no different than everything that we do, right? So you're
Right.
looking at the concept and you open your eyes. We give scenario-based attacks to be able to learn and develop your own technique, but we also give you your own imagination to be able to determine how many different applications you could do it, even from a standing position. That's not
Right.
a change when it goes to the floor.
Right, right. And this is, once the brain cells connect, it's amazing what students can do. I mean, I'm left-handed. I had to learn everything right-handed because my second sensei was right-handed. Occasionally he would do stuff left-handed, but there are dojos that teach both left and right-handed, the same techniques left and right-handed, and it's initially very difficult for right-handed people to learn techniques left-handed. But once they get the concept and the brain reorganizes itself, it's like a whole new world opens up for them. No audio, Darren.
I was just breaking down some of the things you were saying over here, Sensei, without interrupting.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. It's okay to interrupt me. I talk too much anyway. But it's a matter of getting. You're essentially playing with your students' minds. And when I taught junior high and high school, I used a ton of simulations. I hated textbooks. They're probably among the most boring things to learn from. And I used simulations a lot. And they didn't always turn out the way they were supposed to, but that's okay. But the students learned how to think better. They learned how to make decisions, and if they didn't make the right decisions, how to fix them. And to me, that was more important than, I never asked my students to memorize all 50 states or find them on a map. Okay. And most kids today don't know what an encyclopedia is. or a road map.
What's that?
You ever used an encyclopedia?
What?
I know what they are. I've never used them.
Yeah, I know where they are, but you don't know how to use them. Yeah, I mean, technology moves on.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge, and I'm 81, and I'm seeing, I've seen tremendous technological changes in my lifetime, but like both of you white belts or the one that's 18, I mean, what's in front of you that you are not even aware of yet is going to be totally amazing. And
Yeah,
it's in your past history is going to be, okay, so what? Because what you're dealing with right now is common knowledge. For me, it's still something special. My daughter does website programming among her other job skills. I can, my website I did myself with a lot of help. She's provided some input, but she has skills that are normal for younger people. And things will change. But it's a matter of keeping an open mind and being flexible. That's how you can do how a right-handed person can do left-handed techniques. And left-handed people, I'll still say it, left-handed people have an advantage in the martial arts.
Yeah.
Anyone here else left-handed? I'm curious.
Yeah.
Right here.
1, 2, 3.
Left here too.
1, 2. Are you, Thomas, you're left-handed? 3.
Yeah.
That's
You both
3,
raise your right hands, you're lying.
6.
My left hand.
That's
There
3
you go.
out of, that's,
All right, never
3,
mind, you're
that's
okay.
3 out of 8 people, which is much higher than the norm. Okay. I think it's left-handed people are like 13% of the population.
13% at most, yeah.
And
That's lefty.
go into a hardware store and ask for a left-handed screwdriver.
yeah.
And they do make them. It's
I like the left-handed scissors.
left-handed scissors.
Next to the
They
left-
make left-handed scissors.
They have a
Next
hammer
to
too.
left-handed rake.
Left-handed hammer, left-handed carpenter's hammer, because you've got
And-
those 2 hooks, but sometimes they're in that one of those hooks, there's a smaller hook,
Well, never
and
thought about that.
that's made for that smaller hook there is for a right-handed person. Easier for a right-handed person to use that hammer than, I mean, it's, why are screws put in? Why do all screws are right-handed screws? The way you turn it. Anyway, let's move on back
Yeah.
to jiu-jitsu. But
Can
anyway,
one question? I don't know if it's been discussed because I haven't been here for a while, but it would be an interesting topic about whether or not or how important it is to teach left and right in a dojo. Is it important? Is it not important?
I think it.
Do you know?
I'm
I know
gonna,
what I think, but
I think it's important. I do both, but part of that's because I'm dyslexic and I can't tell which is the right-handed and which is the left-handed version of a technique.
yeah, because I've been to when you go around, you see a lot of schools, and sometimes they don't,
yeah.
and so
I
they're baffled when you grab them with your left hand, or
Yeah.
I
I think it's important to do some, certainly, I teach left and right. You can be dominant right-handed grip, right-handed stance, but I teach both left and right stance. And I
yeah.
think it's great that if something feels good to you, if you're right-handed, but
Mhm.
something feels good left, work on that so that you have some competent left-handed technique, left
Right.
stance technique. I
Yeah.
think it's good we think from our martial art tradition, training both sides for balance, for symmetry,
Yeah, no, I agree.
cognitive. So though for those reasons, I still teach both sides. Yeah.
yeah. I think
And some, I know this isn't the topic, but some situations, like if chances are someone's going to grab you left-handed and punch you right, because if the right hand dominant, right?
and if you're a
It,
left-handed person, you'll go for the hit rather than the grab.
right. So you better be careful and learn both,
Right.
So yeah,
Or you'll be left out.
yeah, you're gonna be left out on the ground.
That's
Yeah.
up.
And you'll also be less predictable if you can mix up your technique a little bit, to mix up your stance, to mix up your lead, to mix
And
up.
my experience, if I'm not good on the left side, if I work more on the left side, I get better on the right side. I think it sort of
Yes, you do.
rewires the brain. I think it really
Yes, you
does
do.
work.
You do.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so.
And since in excess of 80% of the people are right-handed,
Right.
this is where left-handed people have an advantage,
Hmm.
because you got this attack coming in from their right side, which is your left side, which is your strong side.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you look at it that way, you
Yeah.
do, left-handed people do have an advantage in that sense.
Mhm.
Um,
It sort of rewires the brain if you
Right.
work on your less dominant side, I think.
But then again, if you're in old Japan and wearing your judo gi or kimono, I say the right side folds over the left,
Mm.
and because everyone was encouraged, if you weren't naturally right-handed, you were encouraged, and even in the Western world, everyone was encouraged to be right-handed.
Mm.
Maybe
Yeah.
20th century.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was because you could put things inside your kimono and gi that you could pull out.
Mhm.
Left-handed people had a real disadvantage.
Mhm.
So some of this stuff comes from weird. Some of what we do comes from weird things in history, or weird behavior
Yes.
in history,
Sure.
or cultures. And
Sensei,
Yeah.
there's another aspect worth examining. That's called mixed dominance. Some people are left-footed, left-handed, and right-eyed.
yeah,
Some
that's
people
Yeah.
will do racket sports right-handed and bat right-handed, but throw left-handed. So
I
the
kind of have
mixed
a little bit
dominance
of
thing
that.
gives you an advantage because studying from both sides is something you're used to doing.
yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. I have that a little bit, Dave, where maybe from playing guitar, for instance, like my left hand is more articulate than my right hand would be for certain things. So I
Mhm.
might actually reach for something left-handed because of that, but I'm
Mhm.
right-handed, which leads into something I was going to bring up, which is this third aspect. There's doing things right hand, like let's say from a karate perspective, somebody's throwing a punch with their right hand towards me. I can block that with my left hand. And then you'd want to train the other side. So have them punch with their other hand, and I could punch that, block that with my right hand. And then you're doing that mirror image practicing, and that's good for muscle skill and everything. But there's the other option of this right-handed punch coming at me. I can attack it, I can block it left-handed, or I can block it right-handed.
Yeah.
Where it's basically practicing right-handed responses to left-handed situations, so to speak.
Yeah.
And a lot of like jujitsu techniques, for instance, kind of come from that, right? It's essentially you turned the wrong way, so now it's a new technique. Like you were trying to do Kotegaeshi and you didn't. Now it's just a wrist turn the other way. You know, you accidentally
Right.
gave an arm bar.
Dane, what you're saying is
new
that
techniques.
Yeah.
What's that?
a parry is a block.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm saying, you know, if you just think of it as both sides, the outcome is the same. If I block this punch comes inside of me and like that. And if I block it on the other side, this punch comes to the inside of me. But if it's coming here and I block this way, I'm on the outside of them.
Right.
And you're talking about our circles of influence there. I'm outside of his now and behind and next to. But that's because I did the wrong thing. I should have used this hand, right? But I used the other side, and now I have an entirely different thing happening. So that's that like third thing: practice left, practice right, and then practice doing the right thing to the left thing and the left thing to the right thing.
So there really is no wrong way, is there?
It's
Nope.
just a different way.
I just thought of something that from my experience when I was learning Kabuto, which is the weapons and the like staff and things like that. You could do the motion with your hands, but then when you throw a staff in your hand and you feel like a child, you don't know how to move it. So your brain has to rewire to hold the staff or whatever is in your hand. Has anyone else had that experience?
Oh my God, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you feel like an idiot. You don't know what you're doing,
Kabuto,
but then you
it's
put the
always-
staff in your hand and you're like, whoa, I don't know how to move my hands. And it takes a while for the brain to wire that simple motion.
And I think a
It's
lot of what
incredible.
I'm talking about with that left-right thing actually comes from my Kabuto training,
Yeah.
because there's times where you're holding it, and because you hold the bow with a hand up and a hand down, typically, there's ways to attack this way and
Yeah.
with the backside, and that would kind of be
Yeah.
right and left. But then there's times you actually change your grip while
Right.
you're doing it, and you actually become left-handed.
In
to
my
do-
experience is it's really simple, super simple to do just without it. But you put the thing in your hand, you're like, you feel like an idiot at first, and then your
Absolutely.
brain, it's incredible. Yeah, I've
And like
all
Sensei
and all the
Kirby-
different.
Sensei Kirby circles too. That's a really great point to tie it back to that, because what makes it so complicated for us when we first put the bow in our hand or first use sai or whatever it is,
Yeah.
your circle's different. Your
Yeah,
center
you
is
look.
where it
Yeah,
always was,
that's
but
right.
now your circle is big. And
Yep.
like now you don't know where they are in relation to your bow.
Yeah.
You have to find that center again.
Yeah.
I think that's
It-
that challenge you're talking about.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
That's where I like the handbook.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to take this topic. We're gonna make it a future topic, left right issue.
Oh, good. Okay.
I think
Good.
we can spend a lot of time on it, and I don't want to go any longer because we're hitting 9:30 right now. So
Yep. Yeah.
yeah. Next time we're going to hit on how far do you go on the street without getting run down? No. And what part of what you've learned, what part of your art do you teach? And what, because you as a sensei have to make that decision. You sometimes you cannot teach everything you've learned.
No.
And some sensei don't want to teach everything they've learned. And then you run into the issue of secret techniques. And for Darren's students, there are no secret techniques. Some teach techniques that there's some techniques that Darren may or may not teach, but another sensei will. And then that can cause problems. Nothing against Darren. Darren's an excellent sensei. We're all that way. There are things, I mean, I've learned techniques that I have some techniques I have never taught to students. I think the only exception was was at a seminar once, and I was supposed to, my listing was that I was supposed to teach defense techniques against a knife attack. And who shows up? 10 or 12 Army personnel. They wanted knife techniques to kill another person with.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And
However, George, if they're going knife to knife, they need to be able to defend against
Right.
that opposing knife in order
that
to be effective with their knife.
yeah,
So
I got into that, and that kind of shook them up a bit. But
Hmm.
yeah, but you know, you then have to change your mind. Okay, now I've got a teach technique specifically on how to quickly kill a person with a knife.
Yeah.
I'm not going to teach that to normal people.
So yeah.
You could teach it to normal people, but don't teach it to abnormal people.
There you go. Most martial arts sensei, I think, to some extent, are abnormal. So
We're a little bit abnormal. Yeah. Hey, George, I could I have a couple of minutes before we disperse our group today as well? Would that be possible? Or
yeah, is that okay with everyone for just a couple
Yeah,
more?
it's fine. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
So
And
yeah, so hi everybody. And
Hello.
we're all familiar, except for the young gentleman over at Zanshin Dojo. We're all familiar with the phrase "everything old is new again," right? And so a couple of years ago, when I started shifting my focus from my judo practice towards jujitsu, I wanted to do more self-defense stuff, which we're talking about here. And here is the interesting thing that happened. So I'm a level 2 self-defense instructor with Judo Canada. So we have a specific program that we develop with Judo Canada. It's a national standard. Dexter, are you from Canada? Are you Canadian?
Yeah, I'm in Oakville, Toronto.
Oakville. Okay, I'm in Etobicoke
Oakville.
right now this morning.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Yeah, cool.
Not
So
not that far.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, 2 weeks ago, I emailed our federal minister for women and gender equality, who is Richie Valdez, and her constituency office is here where my mom lives in Streetville. I'm visiting my mom. And I told her about the work Kenru Jiu-Jitsu Society was doing, personal safety, self-defense programs, women's self-defense, about the Judo Canada self-defense program. And I said, I will be in your constituency July 14th. Can I possibly meet with you? And so they responded to me. And this is the interesting part. Last week, so this federal minister, person sits next to our prime minister. So the federal minister was in meetings last week with 12 to 15 women leaders in their communities from coast to coast, and they were talking about ending gender-based violence against women. And it was interesting that I had spoken with or had communication with the minister. Last week, she facilitated these talks, a national conversation and talks. And I'm meeting with the national minister on Monday morning at 10:30. We're going to talk about women's self-defense programs, and the such like that. It's just interesting that, a couple of years ago, I said, it won't be long before we come back to our jujitsu roots and start talking about self-defense and protecting yourself. Mushin, Zanshin, Fudoshin, right? We'll come back to this stuff. And here we are today. And Monday, I'll be talking with a federal minister about how we offer more of our programming. And it's actually looks very, very, very promising. And that's why I say everything old is new again, coming back to our roots, coming back to the jiu-jitsu. And remember, we used to do, when I studied judo 43 years ago, when I started, we did competition judo. but we also practice the martial art, and we also practice the self-defense piece of it, which has subsequently, in subsequent decades, self-defense has fallen off, the martial art has fallen off. So a couple of years ago, and I emailed the CEO of Judo Canada, Nicholas Gill is a judo Olympian, and I said, hey, is self-defense still relevant in judo or not? Or should I be going elsewhere? What do I need to do here? 2 years later, we have a national program in self-defense. Again, it's our jujitsu stuff. It's back to our roots.
That's good.
It's back to
Yeah,
jujitsu.
that's really cool.
100%.
Yeah, that's my story, guys. Thank you for your time. I appreciate that. Hello to the young
So-
man there at Zanshin Dojo in Miami.
No,
Keep it up.
I can't agree more than what you just said.
That's
I
good.
have a whole lot more to say about that, but we're about to knock off on this. So, but I agree 100%. There's a lot of exposed martial arts out there without applying real life reality self-defense behind it, and obviously the foundation and origin of those things is Japanese jiu-jitsu. So agree.
Yeah, for sure.
okay, very good. Okay, got 2 new upcoming topics. So our next topics will be how far do you go on the street? What else we have? What part of art do you teach? Escalation or de-escalation in a street situation, which we will need Ken providing us some support for
Yeah,
leadership in. And but if you have the paperwork, I'm not holding it where there it is, it's appearing slightly. You have a summary outline in 6 and details in topic number 8. They're both the same thing. And but it's a worthwhile discussion because as we said earlier today, if you can de-escalate a situation, if you can resolve a problem through non-violence, it's also always going to earn you a lot more credibility than if you have to prove yourself physically. And that's the key of self-defense is not to have to use it.
Yeah.
I
And
think, like you
George-
said earlier, Sensei, getting punched in the mouth once or twice a year is part of what makes you not so eager to fight.
Yes.
You understand the
Yeah.
cost of victory.
Yes.
Not the cost of defeat. It's
Yeah,
even the cost of victory. Like, is it okay that I break my arm right now, lose my teeth? Like, I'm going to get hit. Do I want to go through this?
Yeah. I mean,
Whereas if you don't have that experience, you don't think you're going to get hit. You just think you're going to win.
right. You know,
The flip side of that, Dane, is you can also realize that you can get hit and carry on.
yes.
Right.
Also
Absolutely. Yeah, you're also not
extremely
afraid of getting hit. Right.
Right. And that's
Absolutely.
I mean, I will tell my students, all of you need to get hit in the face once. Just so you know how it feels.
Yeah.
Because, and that's on the one hand, it's kind of a sick thing to say, but on the other hand, once you've experienced something that is otherwise thought of as traumatic and you realize it's not that traumatic.
Right.
I can
That's
survive
like
it.
absolutely, like when we train, all of us, we get grabbed, and we're pretty comfortable, all of us, are being grabbed. And most people who have never been grabbed, if somebody grabs them, they may react completely different than we do.
Right.
They will freak out and like, oh, what do I do? But it's quite comfortable for us to be grabbed and to be close to other people. It's not so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
The other,
just to end up, I think, because I've been in this situation with gang members and I've had them grab my shirt and my comment, I'll look them straight in the eye and say, please let go.
Right.
And they do.
Because you're not
90%
intimidated.
They do, because you're saying it in a calm voice, you're looking straight at them. And maybe it's because I use the word please, which they know is being a bit sarcastic. Even though I may say it sincerely. I mean, even when I've worked with training law enforcement personnel, I said it is so important to sound polite. Please stop resisting, because number one, it puts the person off guard to some extent, but they know that you can they know you can verbalize it differently. Also because there may be people around recording what you're saying, notwithstanding this was before a lot of agencies now have, body cams. It records you as being professional.
Mhm. And that accountability is very important,
Yes.
George.
Yes, it's
Yeah. And the other interesting thing is I mentioned our self-defense program for instructors. So Daniela Krukauer is an international personality in the martial arts world. She's a judo Olympian and a world champion and a Krav Maga instructor to the Israeli military. She created this self-defense program for Judo Canada, which was funded in part by the government of Canada, right? So we got money to create this program. But when you create this program and you're going to bring it to the communities, it has to have a component of de-escalation and regulation and self-control. There has to be that component of accountability, personal responsibility, and an element of preserving public safety, maintaining public safety, right? And if we're going to do that, if we have a publicly funded program that we're going to offer and bring to communities, it has to be responsible, right?
That's really
It can't be
amazing.
reckless.
Where would I find out more about that?
Well, it's a Judo Canada program, so it's on the Judo Canada website.
Okay.
Are you a
Yeah, I
judo
used to
guy
be.
as well?
I was for a while until my body got hurt, but now I do mainly jujitsu.
Are you a black belt by any chance?
Yes. I'm with the Canadian Jiu-Jitsu Association,
Okay, gotcha.
CJC. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can learn more about it. I can fill you in more, or you can also go to the Judo Canada website.
Okay.
But I'm on LinkedIn, and George can get us connected after if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Very good idea. Yeah.
okay.
It's a
We're
totally
going to-
different topic, but I want to make sure that we take time to thank Darren and Gianni and Chris for participating today.
Yes.
It's
Yes,
great to see
for sure.
Great
Excellent.
to see youth here as well as these talented and knowledgeable sensei that I enjoy learning from.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
Thanks for
Dave,
being
it's
here.
always good seeing everyone. And Sensei, before you close, this is for everybody, but especially for Ken and Dexter. Dexter, I've been telling you for a minute now, but back again, coming around the block, November 7, 8, 9.
Again, right? You can, yeah.
Conquest, Canada, Ottawa,
Ottawa, yeah.
World Kabuto.
World Kabuto.
I'll be instructing over there. It'd be great to see y'all.
Ooh,
Ottawa. That's a
very
bit of a
nice.
trek, but maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, we'll see you on the first Saturday in August.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know what that date is offhand.
August 2nd.
Pardon?
August 2nd, Sensei Kirby.
August
Very
2nd.
good.
Okay. So it's the second day of the month. But I will keep you updated, and we'll update the outline. And if you have any additional topics you think are worthwhile that we can touch on, and a couple of them came up today, we'll add it to the list. And
Excellent.
I think this is Zoom session 91 or 92, something like that. We're getting up there. I don't know what we're going to get when we get past 100. Maybe we'll have to buy out YouTube. Anyway.
It's very special.
Yeah.
It's great seeing you guys. Always great to
Yeah,
see
you too.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
Take care. Have a great weekend. A really good week.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
See you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.
How you doing, Sensei?
Take care. Pardon?
I said, how you doing?
I am doing fine.
Okay.
It's been a busy week, but things are returning to normal, and I'm doing okay.
All right. Just wanted to check on you. Tell Mr. Dell and Kim I said hello.
Okay, I will.
All right.
Take
Have a
care.
good